Hey folks, welcome to the Wagon Wheel of Wisdom. I am your host, Kevin. As you see behind me, I have this beautiful wooden wagon wheel, and in front of that beautiful wagon wheel is my face, and hopefully the wisdom follows suit through there. I would like to talk a little bit today about the art of forgiveness and what that experience has been like in my life. In my life, let me specify this, in my life regarding relationships. So, full disclosure, I am about three and a half months out of a breakup of somebody I dated for about 9 months. I don't know what it is that's so unique about this breakup or this situation, but you're looking at somebody that I was in a marriage for 10 years, and my partner and I at that time were together for roughly 15 or 16 years. Prior to that, I was in another relationship that was a real in and out. I know people throw this word narcissist around a lot, but, well, that's another topic for another time. That relationship was beyond odd. But the last one is the one I'm going to reference most, and then I'll go back in time to when I was married. So, this most recent relationship, I don't know what it is about the energy or how I'm feeling inside with this, but it has been unexplainable, the sadness, the heartache, the squeezing around my chest, the lack of sleep. From an emotional standpoint, I have never in my life felt anything like this to this degree and to this consistency. Again, 3 to 3.5 months, and there are days when it feels like it just happened. It just happened. In a sense, I suppose, through the span of time, it kind of has. But I've been in the dating sphere for a little while now, and some relationships lasted a little bit longer. And yeah, when you say goodbye to people, it spins you up a little bit. I mean, it's tough, but hitting the reset button on this one, I haven't found it yet, but I'm working on it. And that's the point of what I'd like to get to with the whole act of forgiveness on this. So, to give you an idea, my ex broke up with me 3.5 months ago, and I had really thought that this relationship was something truly worth investing in. And I'll explain why. In 2001, I lost my dad to suicide. I sadly was the person that found him. And to make a long story short, it fucked with my head for years. 19 years to be exact. This happened in 2001, September 16th, 2001, and we all remember September 11th. Well, a different tower in my life at that point in time fell from a metaphorical perspective, and I blamed myself for 19 years on that. And I'll get into that in some other video, but it's certainly worth talking about because male suicide right now, suicide in general, but male suicide nonetheless, is skyrocketing. It's depressing to think that people just give up like that, but in some capacity I do understand it, and this video is going to talk about that a little bit. So we had a little bit of a debate. And I say a little bit of a debate because to me it wasn't that big a deal. It was just me expressing myself. And this person who I was dating at the time had always mentioned how politically balanced I am. And she would reference the point of it was so easy to talk to me because I always, at the end, wanted to see the best in both sides and work with both sides. At some point in time, I'm thinking, or my thinking is that this is what a balanced approach to life should be in the political sphere, where in this current time doesn't exist. I mean, truly a civil war, and not all wars need bullets. This one typically doesn't, but I'm going to move forward with this. I had expressed to her one reason why I liked Donald Trump, and it was because I noticed that neither party could control him. Even though he ran under the Republican umbrella, and of course they jumped on his train when he won, because they don't know any different, or to how to actually stand on their own 2 feet, but for the most part, that guy wasn't influenced by either party. And it is my belief that he used the Republican platform because I don't think he could have ran under the Democratic platform to get the presidency. But I digress. And in that debate, she had referenced, wrongly mind you, that Trump overturned Roe versus Wade. And I looked at her and I said, no, that you might want to look at the date when that happened. Her response was, what do I need to leave? It's like, no, just look up the date so you actually know when this happened and tell me who was president when this happened. And she looked it up, and of course the date was while Joe Biden was president. And I don't know if that was, I learned at that moment that this particular person operates pretty heavily on her ego. And I wasn't trying to be a I'm right, you're wrong. I'm not wired like that. I just want you to have the correct information so you're not, number one, lying to yourself and then lying to other people, because in that moment she had the wrong information. 2 days later, I get a phone call after she basically completely ghosted me and said she just wants to be friends. Friend zoned. I'm going to put this out here right now. To friend zone somebody that is deeply invested into you might be one of the biggest insults possible. I can't speak for women. I'm going to speak for this guy and this guy alone. But that is insulting on a level that it's like we are intimate, and I want to see, or I want to evolve this relationship into more, and now you just want to be a friend. What do you want dating advice from me? Is that what you're looking for? Because no, I find that to be an insanely marionette type of existence with somebody who can sit there and pull your strings and tag you along while they have other options in the backdrop. And then if they decide that they don't want those options, they might come crawling back to you. So I said no, and I said I don't chase. However, and this is me being completely vulnerable and open on this, I was a total asshole to her afterwards. Total. I said some unforgivable shit to her. I deeply regret that course of action because she didn't deserve that. Guys, the only thing that you can realistically say to a woman at that point in time is, as much as it hurts and sucks, I am not saying that it doesn't suck to hear this, but swallow your damn pride, don't do what I did, and just look at her and be like, all right, no problem. Even if you don't mean it in that moment. Okay, no problem. I assure you, you're going to disarm her, because what I did see when I said that I wasn't going to chase her was her completely shocked by that response. It was just my response in the days and weeks and sometimes months afterwards that has completely justified, I bet, in her head, even though she's not talking to me, she completely blocked me, which again, I get, but justified her move to break up with me. So here we are. 3.5 months later, I'm still working through this as best I can. I'm going to give you some negatives. I already told you one of them. Me contacting her constantly, the whole begging her not to leave, calling her names, implying stuff that I have no proof about, instead of just picking up my own damn ego and walking away proudly and being happy with who I am in that moment. So during our relationship, there was one aspect that I felt my health deteriorating, both from an emotional and physical perspective. I'm somebody that's big into fitness. I've belonged to this gym that's right by my place for over 2 years now. Even prior to that, I was really doing a good workup with getting back in shape. And you're talking to a guy that when I was married in 06, or when I got married, I weighed about 260. I gotta find the photos, but that guy looks like he ate this guy. Right now, I'm about 202, 203. I have test week coming up at our gym. I have a personal best of 395 on deadlift. I want 275 on my bench. 265 is my best, but I want that. My squat has been suffering, and it's just about the same as my bench. I've had some hip and knee stuff going on, inflammation, but I think I found the reason to that. So when I first met this woman, the one commonality that we enjoyed doing, and when I look back on it, we basically had this bond. We would go out to brew pubs and drink IPAs like they're going out of style. or as fast as they could brew them for that matter. And that was the dynamic. We would have sex and we would go out. We would have sex and we would go out. Not exactly a relationship built on a solid foundation, more like built on quicksand. For those of you that kind of know what I'm talking about, it's hot and heavy, it's sexual, and I think what I did worse was I confused ego with love. And right now, I really don't believe they can operate in the same arena together, because one is about you, the other one is completely about each other. And I think we're both very guilty of that. It was fast-paced, but at the same time, I would say lacked depth. And I think you're already like, well, Jesus, no wonder the relationship failed. Yeah, it took me a while to realize that. And you would be 100% correct that was probably the biggest reason it failed. But I think it was also the biggest reason for my heartache. I built this false image of somebody in my head, something they call an overlay. So if this was a functional relationship right here, I decided to put something over top of it that was a complete false reality from what truly existed. Fast forward, the breakup happened. And again, to this day, I'm still very spun up about it. Let me go back in time. My ex-wife and I were divorced I moved out in 2016. And I want to look at everybody right here. I was, without question, a shitty partner to her. I was verbally and at times physically abusive to somebody. A monster. Alcoholic. Smoked a ton of weed. Just not proud of who I was during that time at all. I can't make excuses for it, but I sure justified it by the fact of my father's suicide, that I was messed up. And granted, that is going to mess you up, but you still have choices in life that you can make. And I refused to own my actions. It was always somebody else's fault. It was never me. The world was against me. How could the world do this to me? You know, that same victim mindset that absolutely destroys the essence of who you are. And more importantly, destroys the essence of a man. I didn't feel like I had much of a sense of purpose in life, to tell you the truth. And the irony is, I truly believe that is what destroyed my own father inside. He quit his job, part of the baby boomer generation where you identify as your job. He had a good career there, made good money, but it was a shallow environment, and it was sales. And I'm not saying all sales is a shallow environment. This environment in particular, I just don't think over time was something that fed his soul, other than the monetary aspect for it and the identity that maybe he carried with it. So anyway, we got divorced. Fast forward to yesterday. My ex-wife and I, along with her parents and our son, we have one son together, we went out on a Harley ride. All of us. As a family, even though we aren't the traditional family where we're married and live under the same roof. My ex-wife and I have laid our weapons down. Me most importantly, I've owned my shit with her. I've apologized. And we have acted in the act of forgiveness, where there is no intimacy between us. There is just a friendship. Some people are going to sit here and say, oh, you're acting like a bitch if you do this stuff. I go over and help her, and I don't give a shit what you think. She's single, I'm single. I will do anything for her at any moment in time. She is the mother of my son, and I will protect her as if she were my own wife or my own partner. And I will continue to do that unapologetically, because I firmly believe, even though we are not in the same, I call it arena of the typical wedded people, I love her on a level that isn't involving intimacy. I've forgiven myself for my actions, and believe me, forgiving yourself, and if you don't know what that looks like, please learn about it. You can't change the past. Or if you can, Jesus. We got to make a different video on that, but I don't have any input on that. But I can't change my past. I can live for today to provide a better tomorrow for everybody around me. And that's ultimately my goal and the biggest goal of forgiveness. The biggest goal of forgiveness. My ex-wife and I have had this, I'm going to call it just an amazing partnership now. And it's even come to the detriment of new relationships if I'm dating somebody, because they can't conceptualize or comprehend that somebody can get along with their ex so good because they hate theirs. And let me tell you about that dichotomy. If you are a person and I'm dating you and you talk negatively about your exes or your parents or your kids or your friends or family, that is a massive red flag. And that red flag is something I completely ignored in this last relationship that I'm talking about too. This individual, from an ego perspective, hates her ex-husband. I've met the guy. Here's the thing that I noticed. She had no problems talking all kinds of shit about this guy, claiming he was narcissistic as hell, that he's a big cheater, always a big drinker, which ironically, you are too. Hate to break it to you, ex, but you were too. But she constantly was talking negative about him, negative about her parents. Now, typically, a narcissistic mindset, even if they're on the spectrum, but if they're suffering from narcissistic personality disorder, they have no problems talking trash about people. Her ex-husband has had every single opportunity to say a negative thing about her. He hasn't said one word. And it's completely changed my view of her, thinking, wait a minute, are you one of those narcissistic people that says they're the narcissist even though you are? Because that's a common thing too. So here's what I'm getting at. I think the act of forgiveness doesn't start with you forgiving them. I think it truly starts with you forgiving you for not seeing what you couldn't see because of the overlay you put over it. And once you're forced in that moment to remove that overlay and see it for what it is, you can first be like, God dang it, how did I not see that? Well, you did see it. You just didn't. You didn't do anything about it. Or you wanted, in my case, I wanted something to work really bad. So what I was doing was injecting emotion and feeling into something that was false instead of paying attention to what really truly was. So what I've learned is this. When we broke up for 2 weeks, I hit the IPAs hard. Hit it hard. Now you're looking at somebody who, prior to meeting her, had quit drinking for 2 years. No sex, no girls, obviously, no drinking. But during that 2-year time frame, I smoked weed. So pick your poison. And I'm going to have a video about this, but for those of you that do not believe marijuana isn't addictive, I've got a bridge to sell you. I had some horrible withdrawal symptoms from it. The sweats like you can't believe for a week or so afterwards, maybe even longer. And then it has to rewire your brain too at the same time, but we'll get to that. So during this act of forgiveness, for 2 weeks after she broke up with me, this would be my girlfriend, I drank hard and decided at one point, enough. Because during this time frame, I had already belonged to a gym. I had been fighting with hip pain, inflammation, and looking for reasons other than the one I already knew what it was as the cause of it, the root cause of it. So I stopped drinking. The weed, I have smoked a few joints here and there. I'm fighting with that one still a little bit, but I have cut so far back from that, it's incredible. Now, that's an act of forgiving yourself. You don't need to punish yourself because of something out of your control. You don't. Stop punishing yourself. Fitness, eating right, all of that, getting outside into nature, going for walks, things as simple as walks. If you guys want an easy health plan from me, here it is. 15 to 30 minutes of walking every single day. 1 to 5 minutes of just mindful breathing. And when your mind starts to go away, bring it back. And the hundreds, I call them. 100 push-ups, 100 air squats. You can break them up. If you can't do 5 at a time, do 4 at a time. Build it up. We are a society that is built around instant gratification. I want it done now. I'm not seeing the results, you guys. Well, this is 2 years. This guy used to be 260. And if I can bring this shit back to what it is, you can too. But you've got to forgive yourself for the past. Learn the art of forgiving yourself, and I promise you will forgive that partner. And work on you to become a fucking monster of a person. And I don't mean the scary kind. I mean the kind that improves themselves, and in the process, when you do that, you automatically the world around you changes and it shapes, and people look at you vastly different. People used to be scared of me and didn't really want to talk to me at all during my drunken, depressed phase, and I don't blame them. I don't blame them. I was an asshole to everybody, friends, family. It didn't matter. My world has done a total 180, but it's because I had to forgive me. When you learn to forgive you, you will forgive everybody that has wronged you. And let me put this in a different perspective. You, me, we are the villains in somebody else's story too. I can't be mad at my ex-girlfriend for hurting me in the manner in which I used to hurt my ex-wife. You know what that makes me if I am? A fucking hypocrite at the highest of levels. A huge hypocrite. And I pause there because it's a realization. It's an understanding. I do regret the past because I think about what could have been, but that's not fair. You need to examine what is. What is your current situation? The law of attraction, you guys, I am seeing it in action now. It's taken a long time to get here. And I myself have fought through the act of wanting to kill myself. Believe me. But you know why I don't? Here's my funky little belief system about that. I think life is a school for you to become a better person in a sort of conscious way, to uplift your soul to some level. And I think if you quit on yourself, you get to come back and do it all again. And there's no fucking way I want to come back and do this all again. Because it's been hard. But I'm seeing the rewards paying off. In those moments when you're depressed, you can't see it though. And that's the hard part. But you need to start the mentality of get away from poor me, I'm a victim. Why is God against me? Why is the world against me? To looking at the little victories every day. It's like, I got to wake up today and spend an hour with my son. I got to wake up today and I went for a 15 to 30 minute walk. I went to my gym and I crushed an hour-long workout. You need to celebrate those little victories because little things add up to a whole lot over time. But it all starts with forgiving yourself. You didn't know what you didn't know at the time, and it's okay. Use the experience as a means to become better. People throw this term around about loving yourself. I've done it a little different. It's just called self-love. Being able to look at yourself in the mirror, and as awkward as it feels, saying, I am enough and I love you and I got you. I got you. And then in the end, I don't think you'll ever have to worry about somebody pulling the plug on a relationship. I mean, I can't prove that yet because that relationship hasn't fallen into my lap, but the one thing I'll look back on when we broke up was, in a way, my soul wasn't happy anyway. I was disconnected from myself, putting that overlay over reality and trying to create a relationship on quicksand. But it's not going to beat me. Mental toughness comes into play here. And you need to tell yourself, I am not going to be beaten by this. This is a point in time. to improve everything about my life, find new hobbies, find new things, start a god-darn YouTube channel like this, and talk to people about your experience, because you're not the only one going through this, and I certainly am not too. But we can get through this shit together. All of us can. We just need to set aside that goddamn ego and tell it to take a back seat to the love in your heart that you have for everybody else out there. So, I've stopped drinking. Again, working on the pot. And I don't hit that nearly as much, but I want it to not exist in my life because it doesn't do any damn thing. In fact, I can feel my energy deplete when I smoke now. So maybe this will be my accountability platform for that. I don't need it. I used it, but it disrupts my energy, something crazy right now. So, you can smoke pot, just don't let that pot smoke you. And that's where I was at. You can go for a drink, don't let that beer drink you. Get after it. Get after it. Get after it. You are enough. This is the Wagon Wheel of Wisdom. I'm Kevin. I hope you guys have a great day.